Don here, good morning. And it's a Wednesday morning, and kind of tired this morning. I had a migraine yesterday again that I couldn't get control of, you know. And so it's kind of a tough morning. I'm a little glary eyed, you know, and it's hard to get going. It's 7 o'clock, you know. So I probably won't get going till 9:30 before I start Ubering. I get maybe 3 cups of coffee in me before I even get my heart pumping, you know. That's the way it works, you know. But I'm going to read a poem to you by Robert Frost. Robert Frost is not from Maine. He's from Massachusetts. And but they used to teach Robert Frost poem to us in the Maine schools down there in Yarmouth, and I remember that really well. And I used to love it. You know, I really enjoyed learning about Robert Frost, you know, and so I consider him one of ours. I really do. You know, he was born 1878 and he died 1963, just 10 years after I was born. You know, so I consider him one of my own, really. Even though he's not from Maine, I consider him one of my own. And one of my favorite poems was Mending Wall. It's about two neighbors, you know, they don't talk to each other. I don't know why they didn't. It's just the way he set up his poem. And rock walls were a necessary part of any farmer's property. And it's not because it set the boundary between them. They could have used a fence. But the rock walls were there to get rid of the rocks that are in the fields. You know, the fields are full of rocks, and what are you going to do with them? Well, you might as well put them on the boundary line, you know. And most of the rocks are round. Do you ever think about that? Most of the rocks that you find in the fields are rounded. And it's not because there was a river running there. No. When I studied earth science in the 6th and 7th grade, they told us that this whole land 10, 15,000 years ago was covered by glaciers up to 2 miles high. And as the glaciers moved across, they ground the rocks into these rounded shapes, you know, and I found that quite fascinating, you know. And so that's why all the rocks that you find out in the field and stuff, they're all round. And I just think that's like, I'm just a scientific geek, and I find that fascinating. But anyway, here's Mending Wall by Robert Frost, and I'm going to do my best after my only half a cup of coffee. Hang on again, I'm going to take another sip of coffee, so I might be able to get through this without stumbling. Hang on. Here we go. This is my main motivation. Got to have it. Caffeine is like my own personal manna. Here we go. I'll read it really slow because I just can't get my mouth moving to my third cup of coffee. Something there is that just doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen groundswell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun, makes gaps even two can pass abreast. The work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and found repair here where they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean. No one has seen them made or heard them made, but at spring mending time we find them there. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill. On a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go. To each the boulders that have fallen to each. And some are loaves and some so nearly balls we have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear our fingers rough with handling them. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game, one on a side. It comes to little more. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine, and I am all apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, Good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me. I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offence. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top in each hand like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, it seems to me, not of woods only, in the shade of trees. He will not go behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well, he says it again. Good fences make good neighbors. And that's Robert Frost's poem. Thought you'd enjoy it. I think that's the way people probably read it back in the day and up here in Maine, and I thought you'd enjoy it. So God bless you, and you have a good day.